Hey everyone, this is Bobby at Copel TV Repair, and I want to make a video. It's been something that's been bugging me for a while. I follow Luis Rossmann. It's a video tuber and RTR, that is right to repair activist, and I generally like the guy and like his ideas. He reminds me a lot of what I used to think, and he also reminds me a lot of what I encounter on a daily basis in terms of frustration with big companies. I half admire, half feel pity for his enthusiasm trying to fight and budge a big system, but at the end of the day, he makes good money, purposefully or not, by trying to fix something that I'm pretty certain he will not be able to fix. And he's spending a lot of time, but he also benefits immensely from doing so and having viewers. Anyhow, there are some arguments and some of the things that, even though I agree with many of the things that he says, and namely that companies are exploiting and doing their very best to exploit customers and cut their ways off, and the greed that is out there and how corrupt the whole system is, and that companies are buying lobbyists and they're buying politicians, and there is a lot of truth into that. But there is also another side that he really seems to, I don't think he covers well at all. And this is not a personal, in any way, attack against him or what he does. I think that he just doesn't see some of the points that are out there and that need to be seen. He's so busy or so fully invested into the idea of having a fair world. The world is not, it cannot be fair. Fair means competitive, fair means tough neck competition and a lot of tough losses. And as an example, with the bank cases, who has the right to give up and what needs to give up, there will be immense suffering if things are to be fair. It will be nature, brutal force, and the vast majority of people do not want that, and they're willing to sacrifice and give up some freedoms and some rights in exchange of a more safe environment. That, I am pretty sure this applies to the vast majority of people today. However, I am getting out of the subject here, and today I'm going to talk about something that is of particular interest, that is the companies and their policy preventing others from parts and things like that. So let's see a very specific case. So we received this board to be repaired. It's an old style TV board, doesn't really matter what it is, and the customers say, well, the TV went wrong, screen went black only, backlight still TV, blah blah, does not work. The interesting part is starts from here. I did attempt an EEPROM replacement, but apparently did not separate the solder properly, and 3 solder pads lifted from the board. The new EEPROM is attached but not fully connected. I'm not sure whether this is the problem, and so on and so forth. So a really quick look here shows something extremely dirty. And apparently a terrible job. Apparently admission from the user that they lifted pads, they broke pads, some of the connections for that EEPROM are not working. And here's the funniest part. That EEPROM never goes bad on that board, at least in my experience. But as you can tell, it was available through a third party. Let's say it was available from the original distribution channel. This is the first time ever I see anyone meddling, but this is not the first time I see a situation like this. So the EEPROM was purchased from Shop Jimmy, which is a third-party vendor, big name in the repair industry for TVs, but also started as a small independent shop. It's not like, well, no, I believe his father was somehow reliable. Okay, that's a speculation. It doesn't really matter. So someone is selling the part. And why do you think this customer here bought that part? It bought it because they were researching a problem. And this is a speculation, but I'm betting my weekly lunches on this one, because I've seen it before. I've been on both sides. I've been a third party, as in this case. So, we didn't do the repair. We didn't sell the part. We are being set to repair something that someone attempted to repair. That is the person who owns the TV. Could have been a repair shop. Again, I've seen this. So here's the situation. Someone goes out there, researches a problem, and sees that an EEPROM is being sold. They assume that this is what goes bad, because why otherwise people would be selling it. They buy it. They don't have the skills. They mess it up totally. And usually at that point, they would usually throw it out. But there are variations of what may actually happen. Generally, they will say Visio stinks, Visio sucks. Sometimes they will say the vendor for this sucks if they don't do such a terrible job, but still replace something that is not there. And so we have an ecosystem where Shop Jimmy is selling EEPROMs for tons and tons of boards. 99% of them, I dare claim, are not ever needed, but they sell. They sell because people search for the board parts, and this is a very nice niche business. And this is not personally company-wise, meaning Shop Jimmy's fault. On eBay, there are tons and tons of repair kits and parts sold that sell only because people search for the general board, find something that is for that part. It costs whatever, $20 somewhere here. This is a lot actually. Yeah, Shop Jimmy holds high prices, but on eBay you can find the same thing for, let's say, half the price, and people buy them and try them, and they don't work. And they don't work because they never fail in the first place, or let's say extremely rarely. And the huge majority of customers are just not competent enough to make that call. So what happens if you're the manufacturer of this? What is your way? I mean, the more parts you offer, the more likely it is that people like this will start messing up. And the more people who don't have the qualities to find out what they need, or the quality to replace it right, start messing up things, do you think your reputation as a company will start suffering more or less? Or will it suffer at all? I think it will, and I think it will suffer more. Along with that, of course, you will make a whole lot more people happy. Granted, I agree with that. But whose job it is to decide whether they should or should not provide those parts? If you force them by law, that also makes a ding in their business. If you don't force them by law, and it's up to them, and they shut it down with an argument that they protect themselves, then they're bad. The truth is somewhere in between. And my point to this truth is mostly that it's only half of the problem. The other half of the problem here is that people blame them, people like Louis and the whole RTR thing, people blame them for not providing the parts instead of actually doing what the market needs. That is to provide the product and the service that gives people what they really need. The schematic, the support, the parts, the whole 9 yards. And I've left a few messages on under videos that Louis Rossmann posted, telling them just that. If you want to go and provide value, well, just develop something that, meets all the conditions that, and don't merely criticize them, because there is a lot of truth in what you say about them, but you haven't walked a mile in their shoes. Again, that doesn't mean that they're not corrupt. It doesn't mean that they're not buying politicians, a lot of those companies. It doesn't mean that they're not in a vicious cycle. All I'm saying is it's extremely easy to criticize if you haven't been in their shoes. If you try to provide a product and the service that they're providing, you will see a whole lot better their point. You don't want to see their point. You have the right not to want to see their point. But there is a good reason, a number of good reasons why they're doing what they're doing. One of the good reasons is there may be honest people trying to do whatever, and what will happen is you get at a higher level, you will find out because I've been there, you go on a higher level, you do some of the things that they do, like start to develop a product, so you start offering things for free, And then another problem comes up, which brings to another system, which is that they're playing unfairly. I mean, they had, in addition to everything that has to do with protection, people screwing up and everything, there's also a war for market share and everything. So there is a rough place there. And then very soon you find yourself having to make a choice between, do you do the illegal or immoral thing that they did in order to be on top of the market and keep or extend market share or protect market share, and then you become corrupt just to stay competitive with them, because whatever they do gives them a competitive edge. And I'm not talking not selling the parts. Let's say for that they had a good excuse, but they're using other tactics and other shady things in order to stay up there on the market. Because if you don't, you lose market share. You're not able to provide a product and a service with the qualities and properties. Even though there will be people who appreciate you, they will not be ready to pay the price it actually costs you or allows you to stay in business to do whatever you want to do. And so it is a whole lot bigger and deeper, and regulations alone are not going to cut it, and not at this single level. And that's what I'm trying to say, which doesn't mean, again, that I am protecting Apple or John Deere or whatever. So I'm leaving you with this thought. Hope you find it interesting. Thanks.